The sound of the Colt 45 echoed across the desert flats, a thunderclap in the empty silence. The man in the dust didn't move again. Cole Barton stood with his smoking gun, watching as blood soaked into the parched earth. His weathered face revealed nothing as he holstered the weapon with practiced precision. Dead men told no tales, but they left plenty of tracks. 24 hours earlier, Cole had been nursing a whiskey in a half-empty saloon in Tucson when the telegram arrived. Charlie's sister Sarah had been taken, the same Charlie who had thrown himself on a Confederate grenade at Bull Run to save Cole's life. The same Charlie whose dying words were a whisper about protecting his little sister back home. Some debts could never be repaid, but Cole Barton would die trying. The tracks led him deep into Apache territory, where even the army feared to tread. Cole didn't fear the Apache. He feared what he'd become during the war, what they'd all become. Men who followed orders without questioning, who burnt villages and called it peace. Dawn was breaking when he found the camp, hastily abandoned, cooking fire still warm, 3 bedrolls, supplies scattered, and a woman chained to a post driven deep into the hard earth. She was Apache, proud even in chains. Her black hair fell across shoulders marked with shallow knife wounds. Defensive cuts, Cole noted. Someone had tried to break her. Someone had failed. Her eyes tracked him as he approached, not with fear but calculation. A predator assessing another predator. "I'm not with them," Cole said, kneeling to examine the chains. Army-issue manacles. He'd seen enough of them during the war. "All white men look the same to me," she replied in perfect English. No accent. Mission educated then. Cole's bolt cutters made short work of the chain. As the metal fell away, he expected gratitude. Instead, the woman stood, rubbing her raw wrists, and stared him down with eyes black as gunpowder. "I'd rather die than be yours," she said, each word a bullet. "Enough white men have taken my freedom." Cole almost laughed. "I'm not here for you. I'm tracking the men who held you. They took someone else, someone I promised to protect. Three-Finger Jack Wilson." She spat the name like poison. "Him and 5 others. They have women. 7. I heard them talking." Cole's blood went cold. 7? Where were they headed? North, to the Silver Butte mine, to Blackwood. Everyone in the territory knew of Colonel James Blackwood. Former Union officer turned silver baron, respectable businessman on paper, but whispers traveled like snakes through the territory. Whispers about missing women and Apache hunting parties that never returned. "I need to go after them," Cole said, checking his ammunition. 16 rounds for the Colt, 24 for the Winchester. Not enough if he had to face all of Wilson's gang. The woman watched him, her face unreadable. One of the women had yellow hair. She cried at night, called a name. Cole stopped cold. What name? Charlie. The world seemed to tilt beneath Cole's boots. Sarah. It had to be. A sound caught his attention. The soft crunch of boots on gravel. Cole's hand moved to his holster as he turned toward the ridge. The shot came without warning. Cole dove for cover behind a boulder, drawing his Colt in one fluid motion. The Apache woman was already moving, crouched low, a knife appearing in her hand from nowhere. "How many?" Cole hissed. "One. Scout. Left behind to watch." She pointed to the east ridge with her blade. Cole nodded, circling wide to flank the shooter. The morning sun at his back would blind anyone looking in his direction. Old cavalry trick. The scout never saw it coming. Cole's first shot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. The second punched through his chest. The man crumpled, his finger twitching on the trigger of his Sharps rifle as death claimed him. When Cole returned to the camp, the Apache woman was going through the dead scout's pockets. "I'm going after them," Cole said, checking the man's rifle before slinging it over his shoulder. "You should head home. Your people must be looking for you." "My name is Ayasha," she said without looking up, "and I'm coming with you." This isn't your fight? Ayasha finally looked at him, her eyes reflecting the rising sun. They took me from my people, killed my cousin when he tried to stop them. They beat me. They will pay in blood. She stood, a knife, the dead scout's knife, now strapped to her belt. And you need me. You don't know this land. I do. Cole studied her, 5'6" of pure determination, ceremonial scars on her cheekbones, hands calloused from work and war. 3 days hard ride to Silver Butte, he said. We'll need horses. There's a ranch 10 miles east, Ayasha replied. The owner trades with my people. Fair man, he'll help. Cole nodded once. Decision made. If you slow me down, I'll leave you behind. Ayasha's lips curved in what might have been a smile. If you slow me down, white man, I'll leave your body for the vultures. It was the beginning of a beautiful hatred. They rode hard through terrain that seemed to actively resist human passage. Jagged canyons, sun-blasted plains, forests of saguaro standing sentinel like nature's warning signs. Cole's roan stallion was army-trained, steady under gunfire and tireless. Ayasha rode a paint mare, moving as one with the animal in the way of people born to the saddle. By unspoken agreement, they maintained distance between them, 30 paces, not close enough to talk without effort, but close enough to warn of danger. Trust was a luxury neither could afford. Cole watched the horizon with the eyes of a man who'd survived Shiloh and Cold Harbor. Every ridge might hide a sharpshooter. Every canyon could be an ambush. You were a soldier, Ayasha said during their first brief rest. Not a question. Union, 4th Cavalry. Cole checked his Winchester's action, smooth as silk despite the dust. After the war, they sent us west, to pacify the frontier, to kill Apache. Cole met her gaze without flinching. Yes. Silence stretched between them, taut as a hangman's rope. Canyon Creek, he finally said. 1868. I was there. The change in Ayasha was immediate, subtle but profound. The set of her shoulders, the slight narrowing of her eyes. Her hand drifted to the knife at her belt. 53 dead, she said, voice flat as a desert grave. Women, children, old ones. 72, Cole corrected quietly. They lied in the official report. Ayasha's knuckles whitened around her knife handle. You were there. I was there. Under Captain William Carson. He ordered us to burn the village. Drive the survivors into the canyon where the 7th was waiting. Cole's voice remained steady, but something dark moved behind his eyes. I tried to stop it, failed, deserted a week later. And this makes you sleep better at night? Telling me this? Nothing makes me sleep better at night. They rode on in silence as the sun climbed higher, baking the land into submission. Cole wiped sweat from his brow, mentally calculating water supplies. 2 canteens each. Not enough if they couldn't find a spring. That night, camped in the shelter of a mesa, Cole woke to the cold press of steel against his throat. Ayasha knelt over him, her knife a sliver of moonlight against his skin. For endless seconds, neither moved. I was at Canyon Creek, she whispered. I was 16. I watched them kill my grandmother, my little brother. I hid under their bodies until the soldiers left. Cole didn't move, didn't even breathe. I should open your throat, she continued, send you to whatever God you pray to. Instead, she placed the knife in Cole's hand, blade against her own chest. Finish it, she said. If your remorse is real. Cole dropped the knife into the dust between them. My remorse doesn't matter, he said. Only my actions now. Dawn found them riding again. Something fundamental shifted between them. Not trust, something harder. Recognition. They reached the trading post by midday, a collection of weathered buildings that had seen better days. Horses stamped in corrals and the smell of wood smoke hung in the air. Stay here, Cole told Ayasha. dismounting at the edge of the tree line. Trading posts have loose tongues and quick triggers. Inside the main building, Cole found what frontier posts always offered: whiskey, supplies, and information for those who knew how to ask. The owner, a one-eyed former Confederate named Jenkins, recognized a fellow soldier in Cole immediately. "You riding with that Apache woman out there?" Jenkins asked, pouring Cole a whiskey that could strip paint. "She's tracking. I'm buying." Cole laid silver dollars on the counter. "I need information on Colonel Blackwood and Three Finger Jack." Jenkins' good eye narrowed. "That's dangerous talk, friend." "I've got dangerous intentions." 10 minutes and 10 silver dollars later, Cole had what he needed. Blackwood's main operation was at Silver Butte, 3 days' ride north, but he had a way station closer, an old mission converted to a trading post, a place where merchandise changed hands before heading to the mines. Human merchandise. "They're expecting a shipment tomorrow," Jenkins said, voice low. "Army patrol's been paid to look the other way. Captain Carson himself makes sure nobody interferes with the colonel's business." Cole's blood ran cold. Carson, the butcher of Canyon Creek, now Blackwood's pet killer. Outside, he found Ayesha waiting, still as a statue in the saddle. "They're at the San Xavier mission," he said. "A day's ride. With Carson." Something flickered in Ayesha's eyes at the name. "Then we ride." They approached the mission at nightfall the next day. The old Spanish walls glowed amber in the setting sun, beautiful and forbidding. Guards patrolled the perimeter, not soldiers, but hired guns with Winchester repeaters. 8 men outside, Cole murmured, studying the compound through his field glass. Unknown number inside. 2 wagons in the courtyard covered. Could be the women. "There's a back way," Ayesha said, "through the old catacombs. My people used it to raid the mission during the Mexican Wars." Cole raised an eyebrow. "And you know this how?" The ghost of a smile touched her lips. "My grandfather led those raids." They moved under cover of darkness. The catacombs were narrow, choked with dust and spiderwebs. Generations of rats had left bones crunching underfoot. The smell of death never quite faded from such places. The passage emerged behind the mission's altar. Cole went first, Colt drawn, senses straining for any sound. The chapel was empty, lit only by altar candles that cast monstrous shadows across crumbling frescoes of saints and martyrs. A woman's cry echoed from beyond the chapel doors. Cole moved without thinking, Ayesha close behind, silent as a shadow. The courtyard revealed the truth of Blackwood's operation. Women in chains guarded by armed men, some Mexican, some white, 2 Apache, all with the hollow-eyed look of those who'd seen too much horror to process. But Sarah wasn't among them. The first guard died without a sound, Ayesha's knife across his throat. The second had time to reach for his gun before Cole's bullet found his heart. Then all hell broke loose. Cole dove behind a wagon as gunfire erupted from the barracks. Splinters flew as bullets chewed the wooden cover. Ayesha moved like water in moonlight, impossibly fast, another guard falling to her blade. Cole dropped 2 more with precision shots. Army training? Breathe out. Squeeze. Next target. They freed 4 women, 4 out of 7. Sarah wasn't among them. Neither were the other 2 Apache women Ayesha had hoped to find. "Where are the others?" Cole demanded of a dying guard, pressing his boot into the man's gunshot wound. The man laughed, blood bubbling between his teeth. "Blackwood took the pretty ones to the mine. The blonde especially says she reminds him of his dead wife." Cole's next question died on his lips as a rifle shot cracked through the night. Fire bloomed in his side, driving him to his knees. Through a haze of pain, he saw the shooter, a tall man with captain's bars glinting on his uniform. Carson. Ayesha dragged Cole behind cover as more bullets tore up the ground where he'd fallen. He pressed a hand to his side, felt the warm rush of blood. "Go," he hissed. "Get the women out." Instead, Ayasha tore strips from her dress, packing the wound with practiced hands. Not without you, Cole Barton. Their eyes met in the darkness. Something passed between them, unspoken but understood. Why? He managed. Because chains aren't only made of iron, she replied, and I won't leave a warrior to die alone. As consciousness faded, Cole heard Carson shouting orders to pursue. The last thing he saw was Ayasha, silhouetted against firelight, knife in one hand and his Colt in the other, standing guard over him with the determination of a woman who had decided his life was worth saving, even if he had once been the enemy. Cole drifted through fever dreams, Canyon Creek burning, Charlie dying in his arms at Bull Run, Sarah calling his name across an ocean of blood. He woke to pain and darkness, a cave lit by a small fire, the smell of burning herbs. Ayasha sitting cross-legged nearby, grinding something in a stone mortar. 3 days, she said without looking up. The bullet went through clean. You were lucky. Cole tried to sit up, failed. The women? Safe. I took them to Jenkins. He's sending them south with a wagon train. She finally met his eyes. Your Sarah wasn't there. Not my Sarah, Cole corrected. Charlie's sister. I promised him I'd look after her if he didn't come home. And Charlie didn't come home. Bull Run. Confederate artillery. He threw himself on a grenade meant for me and 5 others. The memory was a physical pain, sharper than the bullet wound. His last words were about Sarah. Ayasha nodded, understanding the weight of such promises. Blackwood has her at the mine, along with 2 of my people. Then that's where we're going. Cole forced himself up, ignoring the fire in his side. You can barely stand. I've fought in worse shape. Something that might have been respect flickered in Ayasha's eyes. The mine is heavily guarded. Blackwood has 20 men. Carson commands another 15 soldiers who've turned renegade. Then we need help. My brother leads a war party tracking Blackwood's men. 20 warriors. I sent word. Ayasha's expression hardened. But they won't fight alongside a white man, especially one who was at Canyon Creek. Cole nodded grimly. I don't blame them. You could still leave, ride south, live. And break my promise to a dead man? That's not living. The corner of Ayasha's mouth twitched upward. You're a stubborn fool, Cole Barton. Been called worse by better. When Talon, Ayasha's brother, arrived with his warriors, the hostility was palpable. 20 Apache braves, armed with a mix of traditional weapons and captured firearms, who would have happily counted Cole's scalp among their trophies. He was at Canyon Creek, Talon said in Apache, not bothering to hide his contempt. He rode with Carson. And now Carson serves the man who took our sisters, Ayasha replied in the same tongue. The enemy of our enemy offers his gun and his life. His life is already ours to take. Yet you haven't taken it. Ayasha stepped between her brother and Cole. He saved me, brother. Honor demands we hear him. Cole watched this exchange with the calm of a man who'd stared death in the face too many times to fear it. When Talon finally approached him, Cole met his gaze without flinching. You know the soldiers, Talon said in English, their ways, their weaknesses. I do. Then speak, white man. But know that if your words bring death to my warriors, your suffering will be legendary. Cole nodded once. Fair enough. Under a canopy of stars, they planned their attack. Cole drew diagrams in the dirt, explaining Army patrol patterns and blind spots. Talon added details about the mine's layout, information gathered from Apache scouts who'd observed from the surrounding mountains. The mine was built into a mountainside with a fortified main entrance and several smaller ventilation shafts. Blackwood's quarters were in the old Spanish mission building overlooking the mine entrance. The women would be kept there, close to Blackwood himself. Carson will expect a frontal attack, Cole explained. It's the Apache way to his thinking, But we'll give him what he doesn't expect. Which is? Talon asked. Cole looked up, a cold smile touching his lips. Me. The next day, Cole Barton rode alone towards Silver Butte Mine. No weapons visible, white flag raised, the very picture of surrender. Carson himself came out to meet him, flanked by 4 soldiers with rifles trained on Cole's chest. Sergeant Barton, Carson sneered, the deserter returns. Captain, Cole acknowledged with mock respect. Still doing the devil's work, I see. Civilization requires sacrifice, Barton. You never understood that. I understood plenty at Canyon Creek. Women and children gunned down in the name of progress. Carson shrugged, unmoved. Collateral damage. The Apache understand only force. Then let me demonstrate what I've learned from them. The Apache war cry rose from all sides as Talon's warriors emerged from hiding places around the compound. In the chaos, Cole drew the Colt hidden at the small of his back and put a bullet through Carson's shoulder. That's for Canyon Creek, he snarled, driving his boot into the captain's wounded shoulder. The dead deserve better than your excuses. The battle was brutal and swift. Apache warriors struck with the ferocity of their namesake, moving like ghosts between buildings. Cole fought his way toward the mission house, Carson's blood-soaked map clutched in his fist. Inside, he found Blackwood using Sarah as a human shield, a derringer pressed to her temple. The colonel was as Cole had imagined him, a vulture in an expensive suit, eyes cold with the arrogance of the truly corrupt. One more step and she dies, Blackwood warned. Cole lowered his Colt slightly. You're a businessman, Colonel. Let's discuss terms. Terms? Blackwood laughed. The terms are simple. You die or she dies. Wrong. Cole's voice was ice. The terms are, you release her now and I kill you quickly, or you don't, and what happens next will be the stuff of nightmares. Fear flickered in Blackwood's eyes. You're bluffing. Am I? Cole smiled without warmth. I rode with Carson at Canyon Creek. I've seen what men can do when they embrace their darkness. The question is, Colonel, have you embraced yours as fully as I've embraced mine? Uncertainty crept into Blackwood's expression. His hand wavered. It was all the opening Cole needed. The shot was perfect. Through Blackwood's shoulder, missing Sarah by a hair's breadth. The colonel screamed, the derringer falling from nerveless fingers. Sarah broke free, running straight into Cole's arms. Charlie said you'd come, she whispered, shaking violently. He always said you'd come if I needed you. Charlie never lied, Cole replied, his voice rough with emotion. Not once in his life. Outside, the fighting was ending. The surviving soldiers had surrendered or fled. Blackwood's operation was finished. Among the dead, they found three-finger Jack Wilson, his body riddled with Apache arrows. Talon's personal revenge for the women Wilson had taken. Ayesha found Cole binding Blackwood's wound, ensuring the colonel would live to stand trial. My people would rather see him dead, she said, watching the fallen Silver Baron with cold eyes. Death is too easy, Cole replied. Let him face justice. Let everyone know what happened here. In the aftermath, they found the two Apache women imprisoned in Blackwood's private quarters. Reunions were tearful, but brief. There was still danger. The Army would investigate when Carson failed to report. Cole spent the next 3 days arranging safe passage for Sarah. She was stronger than he expected, Charlie's sister through and through. The ordeal had hardened something in her, but hadn't broken her spirit. I want to go to San Francisco, she told him as they said their goodbyes. Start fresh where nobody knows me. She pressed a locket into his palm, Charlie's locket. He'd want you to have this. I'll visit when I can, Cole promised, knowing it might be a promise he couldn't keep. Men like him rarely stayed in one place long enough to maintain connections. At the edge of Apache territory, Cole and Ayesha stood facing each other one last time. Behind her, Talon and the other warriors waited with the rescued women. "Come with us," Ayesha said suddenly. Cole shook his head. "We both know I don't belong there." "And where do you belong, Cole Barton?" He had no answer for that. A man born in war, shaped by regret, defined by promises to the dead. Where did such a man belong? "Will you go back to your people?" he asked instead. "My people need me. To rebuild. To remember." She studied him with eyes that had seen too much. "What will you do?" Cole looked toward the distant horizon. "Keep riding. Find the next fight that needs fighting. Always someone else's battles. Until I find my own." Ayesha reached out, her fingertips brushing his scarred knuckles. The barest contact, yet more intimate than any embrace. "Have you learned the most important thing about freedom, Cole Barton?" she asked. "What's that?" "It's not about cutting chains. It's about recognizing that the real chains are in the mind." She turned away before he could respond, walking toward her people with the straight-backed pride that had caught his attention that first blood-soaked dawn. Cole watched until she disappeared into the embrace of her tribe. Then he mounted his horse and turned west, where the setting sun painted the sky the color of redemption. In his pocket was a telegram from another former soldier who needed help in Texas. Another promise to keep, another chain to break. Freedom meant choosing your battles. And Cole Barton still had plenty of battles ahead.